Hey everybody, it's Kelly. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Therapist. As many of you know, purity culture did a number on a lot of us, especially women. And one of the things that purity culture impacted pretty intensely is our understanding of our sexuality. Post-2020, we saw a surge in women coming out as something other than straight. And there's a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of not super studied reasons for that. And there's a lot of reasons those studies weren't done also. But purity culture itself has impacted people in such a way that if you grew up in that culture, you were less likely to understand who you are and who you are attracted to and what that means for you later in life than your peers. How you say? I'd love to tell you. First and foremost, purity culture taught women that their needs don't matter. That's a big duh, right? Purity culture itself was about women being there for men, and women were responsible for men. It was your job to keep men out of hell. It was your job to appease men and to meet their needs and to help them to, well, yeah, stay out of hell, stay on the right track and fix them, basically. Yeah, I think I'd go with that. I think I'd go with fix them. But the implied part of that is that your needs are secondary or just in general don't matter. You were never taught to self-actualize or to even be familiar with what it was that you needed in a relationship, in a partner, in yourself, in your job, in your life. You were never taught to discover what it was that you needed and how to get that, which also means that once you come to terms with who you are, and if that doesn't meet the person that you were when you started to come to terms with that, you weren't taught how to pull back from that and find what you needed. So say you found yourself in a marriage that did not suit your needs and you didn't know that it didn't suit your needs going into it. Through the magic of social media and accessibility, you find yourself to be not entirely straight because for the first time you are exposed to other people who are not entirely straight. So when you find this out about yourself, you don't have the tools that you need to figure out how to get the things you need. So even your journey to get the thing that you do need or to actualize who you are is still done through the lens of meeting the man's need. Which takes us to number 2. You're taught through purity culture that your job is your man. Your job is your home and your job is your children. Like your function is the child bearer and your function is to be maternal. Now, some people are maternal by nature and some people are maternal by training and some people play the part of maternal until they realize they don't have to play the part of maternal, right? And there's a lot that's really, really deeply ingrained into those who are socialized as women to be maternal and to be the caretaker. And again, that smashes down all those needs that you might have inside of you. When you think about self-actualizing and becoming who you want to be and understanding that maybe a heterosexual woman is not who you are, you feel like you're failing because you will maybe have to leave your role as wife and change your role as mother because now we've got different custody situations, right? Or maybe you become a dating single mom, so that's gonna look different. The roles that you have change, the way you look to your family changes, the way you look to some of your friends also changes because your identity is taught to be as a need meter and your job is need meeting and caretaking. You do kind of start to feel guilty for trying to meet your own needs because your job is husband, home, and kids. So not only do you not have the tools to go figure out what that means for you, you also have this guilt laid on you through purity culture because you've been taught this here is your job and not to have that happiness piece for you. Or if you're not happy in it, there's something wrong with you because this is what you were built for. And so you should be happy doing what you were built for because this is how God intended you to be. Right? Weren't you taught that in purity culture? I know I was. I was taught that if I got married to a man and had a bunch of kids and maybe had a job, maybe not, but my job was not to earn more money or to be more successful than my husband. My job was to have a happy home and create a happy home so that he had a home to come home to. Like all those things were legitimately what I was taught, either directly or indirectly by the religion that I was raised in. It never really sounded very attractive to me, but that's what I expected was going to make me happy. Which led to some pretty intense emotional breakdowns as I got older and realized that's not what I wanted, but I thought that's the only option that I had. And in realizing that I didn't have to do that in shedding purity culture as I got older, that takes in the third area that purity culture taught women. And that is that authenticity doesn't actually matter. You're not taught to be authentic within purity culture. In fact, authenticity is talked about in the Christian world and not actually followed. Anyone who has been in any situation of leadership within a Christian community is very aware of the two sides of Christian leadership. While yes, you are expected to talk about authenticity and be real and be honest, you are also completely aware of the fact that when you start to be honest and you talk about your struggles or you talk about your weaknesses, that is when people turn against you or question your ability to lead. Go out and ask the children of anyone who is in leadership in a Christian church. Ask them how much pressure they felt to perform as the child of someone in leadership. Ask them. It is not encouraged to be authentic within the Christian faith. It's talked about because it sounds good, but it's not real, it's not authentic. One of the biggest reasons why people do come out, especially later in life when you already have established a life, when you already have established relationships and friendships and who you are to the world as a whole, one of the biggest reasons that's going to propel you out of that into a completely different life, and honestly, in some ways, into completely different friendships and relationships with your family, and a completely different life in general, is that desperate need for authenticity. The need to live your life authentically to who you know yourself to be. Because why else would you do it? Once you have established your life and you are comfortable and you are known, and maybe there are some times when you are up at night and thinking, is this all there is? And maybe there's times when you're like, do I need to be with this dude forever? Is this really what I'm gonna do? But I also have friends and I kind of like my life and it's super comfortable and I don't want to have to rock the boat too much, and is my family going to accept me, and all of the things that you think about when you are trying to decide if you are going to up and leave and self-actualize. That drive that leads people to do that is usually for them a need for authenticity, because what else would drive them into that unknown? Purity culture is not about authenticity, because if it was, it would talk about the fact that not everybody is driven by sexual desire. It would be honest about the fact that it is okay to have different amounts of sex drive in a relationship, and that sex is not a cornerstone of a relationship. It doesn't have to be that way. It would talk about the fact that intimacy is so many different things and can be so rich and so full, and also not something that everybody looks for in a relationship, and that relationships aren't things that everybody looks for. Purity culture attempts to shovel everyone into this very narrow, very straight, I don't have another way to say that, very straight understanding of how you should be and who you should be. And to break out of that is scary. It's scary. There's no other way to say that. And there's no time in your life that going against who society has decided you are before you can talk or walk or think independently, there's no time that's not scary. And there's really no way to quantify what time is scarier or more risky. And I don't know why we would. I don't know why we would. But I do know that of the viewership on this channel, there do seem to be more people who fall into what they would phrase for themselves as a later in life person. Because of that, I'd encourage you to check out this video right here that does talk a little bit more about some of the benefits and some of the negatives to coming out a little bit later in life. That might be helpful for you. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here. I will see you all next time, and until then, take care of yourselves and each other.